when HR is then faced with the question of redundancy, the question they ask themselves is, which positions will be affected? Who may be affected?
The criteria for selection.
Which criteria do they then use?
For that. So that is provided for actually in the Employment Act. It's provided by, I think, Section 40.
Yes.
It's very clear on how then do you, and as a business, you can sit and determine that you're going this way, and therefore we even start with the bigger picture. Even before you come to the employees, you start the bigger picture of where is the business going, maybe in terms of strategic plan, in terms of the new vision, the new ABCD. Which direction are we going, and what will be the new structure? So there are things that you even have to do before you even come and communicate to employee. You must be able to see what is that you want to do, what is changing, what functions might be created, new ones, what functions might be phased off. So once you have that clarity, it's not a HR decision, it's a business decision. You sit with the business, it will be a whole, maybe sometime when the board is involved, senior management, and you sit and discuss and see where are we going and what is the impact of this. When you get now to that particular moment, now you can now go to the individuals. We are going to face the whole of, if it's a bank where we are doing this, people coming to the branch. We are closing this branch, this branch, this branch, and therefore it means 100 employees are going to be affected. But maybe you want to keep the branch running for just people who walk in, and you have like 3 other senior employees that can stay. Maybe not necessarily the branch manager.
Yes.
So what happens? Now at that point, now you go to the scale, to the length of service, to I don't know what, performance, reliability, all those other things. But the criteria must be very clear and very well spelled out, including the creation of the new jobs. Do you have the job descriptions that people who do not have to be affected can be moved if they can be moved?
Yes.
So the whole of that thinking has to happen before HR communicates to the employees and says, Stella, you're affected.
Yes.
Your role could be affected, but we have this that requires the same skills and ABCD, and therefore how do we proceed?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that answers the criteria.
You say that because the management of the entire organization has to handle this not from a discretionary perspective, but from a legal perspective. And case law has made it very clear, and Section 40 has made it very clear. What I personally use as an acronym called SARS, that is, it looks at seniority. That is, if you are last in, you are first out. That is normally one of the criteria. It looks at ability. Because then you're ensuring that people who have the necessary ability to actually perhaps evolve to a technology that you're moving towards can perhaps be still redeployed. You're looking at reliability. Is this particular employee reliable or not reliable? Assuming you want to redeploy them or retain them to grow into a skill. And then you look at skill. So those are the 4 things that any person who is faced with a redundancy or criteria would look at.
But let me also just add on the seniority.
Yes.
So there are times that maybe the senior person doesn't even have the skills that you are looking for. So you must have a matrix that looks at all the things that you have said in a more holistic way. Because sometimes you're looking at a role like maybe digital marketing. But our old marketer who has been here for the last 30 years, and the most senior one, is no longer serving the business because the skills have changed altogether.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it has to be that holistic, even as the law says about those 4.
Yes.
You have to still interrogate, analyze, and see what will serve the business. At the end of the day, redundancy is not purely legal only.
Yes.
It's a business decision that has to be done within the law.
Exactly.
So the business comes first, but it has to be done within the law.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that the law does not say seniority or, it says that this criteria should actually be conjoined.
Exactly.
So you're absolutely right where you say, yes, you might be the one who was first in, but with where the business is going, you may lack ability or skill.
Or even
yes, you might be reliable,
but you may lack other things,
but you do not have the skill. So your reliability may not actually be relevant in terms of the skill that the business requires.
Yeah. And I think the most important thing still on selection is about, can you defend it in court? If you have to go to court. Is it reasonable enough for even the employees to understand that Jane has to go because this is the case that was applied? Sometimes people, when they're affected, never see the fairness in it. But if they come down, is it actually a fair process? Or you actually know Stella is the most qualified for this role, but because you do not like Stella, she goes out with this.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's okay for you to be able to be reasonable. Let me use the word reasonable. The criteria is there, but be reasonable in your application in a way that you can actually defend its fairness and its reasonability.
Yeah. And in closing, it's important to state that any termination, whether it is the normal termination, whether it is redundancy, the law will look at whether there was procedure followed and whether there were substantive reasons to actually terminate this employee.
And the
redundancy
two yes.
is still a termination of a contract. Yes. And in any termination, if those two issues are not demonstrated, then it will be deemed as unfair, as unlawful. So I like what you said. It must be anchored in 1, good faith, 2, reasonability. That if it is tested by courts, you're able to show that there was good reason to declare redundancy, which is what we're talking about in terms of substance. And then 2, once you establish there was good reason to declare redundancy, you followed the process.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.